everybody, and thank you for joining me again once this year to bring you the latest on the school city of Hammond at the elementary level. So I think we're calling this little broadcast the Elementary View 2. I'm so excited about this school year and excited to share with all of you the vision that we've come up with for this school year. I have some very special guests with me today, and I'm going to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. Marsha, you want to go first?
I'm Marsha Shenek. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Columbia Elementary School.
I am Brooke Sanders. I'm a 5th grade teacher at Jefferson.
And I am Megan Smith. I am the mild disabilities teacher at Maywood Elementary School, kindergarten through 5th grade.
Thank you, ladies, for joining me. I appreciate you giving up your time and getting up early to do this videotape. So let's get down to it. We're going to start by just discussing where we are right now with enrollment. And right now, our enrollment is down. But I'm happy to say it's not as down as it was on Monday.
Oh,
so
wow.
Every
Okay.
day, it's been growing. So right now, I think we are just down 118 students for this school year, and this is comparing it to this time last year.
Okay.
And unfortunately, you know, the 118 students does equal money that we no longer have in the school city of Hammond. But hopefully, by the time this airs, we will have regained those 118 students back. And of course, because Labor Day is coming up,
Yeah.
so that's sort of the magic day. But hopefully, we'll get more students. But with us losing or still being down 118 students, that translates to roughly about $826,000
Wow.
that we are short, in addition to the deficit that we had coming into the school year last year because of the change in the funding formula. So needless to say, we're starting a little short this year, and that causes some impacts, of course, in the classroom. And possible reasons for the low enrollment is that many of our surrounding school districts have open enrollment, just as the school city of Hammond does. So, you know, students really in Northwest Indiana can choose from a variety of school districts to attend. And then, of course, we also have a highly transient population. So kids are moving in and out. As classroom teachers, you know that all too well. And then finally, the last reason that kids are moving in and out is because parents are just looking for the best opportunities for their kids. And I personally believe that the school city of Hammond is the best opportunity for their kids. But the reality is that some of our school grades don't really reflect accurately what's really happening in the classroom.
Very true.
So, you know, with all that being said, that of course has dramatic impacts in the classroom. So class sizes, and I'm sure the crowd is like, yeah, I have too many kids, but you know, class sizes do increase, but I promise I am looking at that daily, almost hourly, and when I can make moves, I make them to alleviate some of that pressure, because of course, the smaller the class size, the better off, you know, the students will be in the class. And then we also have to have conservativeness when it comes to our materials. So we may not have as much as we'd like, or we may not have as many resources. When Marsha and I were talking, she was like, yeah, even down to just regular school supplies, you know, it just gets difficult, but because of the deficit, we have to be mindful of our spending. But even in light of all that, we can't do anything about open enrollment. We can't do anything about high transiency, but we can definitely have an impact on the classroom.
Yes.
So that's the second part of my message this morning, is to talk about what's happening, where we're going at the elementary level. The good thing is this year there's nothing new. There's nothing new, and I can hear another big roar in the crowd. There is nothing new, and I say that a little bit with some excitement, because honestly, I really feel like we have some good pieces in place, and we have excellent teachers to bring those changes that we need to have come about. And so all we need to do now is refine what we're doing and keep honing in on it. So let's talk a little bit about literacy first. And some principals and I got together over the summer, and we really looked at NWEA data.
Okay.
And in looking at that, we were able to formulate some driving questions, a driving question for literacy and a driving question for math. And so our driving question for literacy comes down to, how well do teachers really know their students? And if you don't know your students well as readers, you can't really meet them where they are to help them move to the next level. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
But I believe that we have all the pieces in place with our balanced literacy way of instruction, our balanced literacy approach. I believe that in doing that, that really helps us get to know our students as readers. So let me just break this down a little bit. What we teach are the standards. That drives everything. Am I right?
Absolutely.
What we teach are the standards. How we teach it is through balanced literacy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then the resource that we use to support that literacy is benchmark literacy. So everybody gets confused, like, are we using benchmark, are we not? Yes, we are using benchmark to support our literacy instruction. But how we do that is through balanced literacy. And we know the components of balanced literacy: independent reading and conferring, guided reading, whole group, small group, and then, of course, the workstation rotation, right? And one of the pieces that I really want to emphasize again this year is the independent reading and conferring.
Yeah.
That is so critical, because if we don't give students the opportunity to read at school, and I know that sounds really crazy, right, because they can read at home or whatever, but our kids don't, if we're honest about it.
No.
And so we have to give them the opportunity to read, and read with someone there to support them. And the conferring piece will help you as teachers get to know your students as readers. As readers, right?
And there are some districts where my children go to school where they don't get time in class to read. She has to read at home, and so I love it and I can't believe as a teacher that they don't have time to read in school. I mean, to me, that's just, and I think it's just because I've always taught in Hammond that's been built in me. Kids have to have that independent reading time. They have to have someone there supporting them.
Absolutely.
I mean, they just, and sometimes they're confused. Sometimes they need to work out their thoughts. And if someone's not there to kind of help them, I don't know.
And that comes down, that's a great point. That comes down to demographics. So I don't know, don't mention where your kids go to school, right? But there are some demographics where there are parents at home, like yourself, that can help.
To make sure.
Yes, that can help, can answer questions, can support that. But in our demographic, that's not always the case. Our parents have to work. Some, they have to work shift work, or they're coming home late, or the kids are, latchkey kids. All of that stuff our kids have to deal with. So giving them time to read in the classroom is the best thing that we can do for them. And the more they read, the better they read.
And I think you can create opportunities
Absolutely.
at school to read besides what we call independent reading time. When you're out on a bathroom break, everybody take a book. Right after library, they've just checked out books.
Look at it. And they're like, look at my book.
Right there sometime. You can also create time for that independent reading.
And what we want to do, piggybacking on that, is we want to create a love for reading. We don't want reading to become
a chore.
A chore, right?
Them,
We want them to love. So how do we do that? We give them time to talk about their books with their peers, with their teachers. Lincoln does an awesome job with book trailers and recommending books for kids, things like that. But we want them to love reading. One piece that we really will focus on this year, though, is getting the guided reading right.
Okay.
What does guided reading actually look like? What's the outcome of guided reading? How do we collect data during guided reading? You know, guided reading is not the old round robin popcorn reading, right? That's not guided reading. Guided reading is an opportunity for teachers to group students according to level, tapping in, listening to their reading, and collecting data on their students. So we really want to get that right because, again, that's going to help you as teachers get to know your students as readers. In some buildings this year, your principals may discuss with you about doing a reading inventory. I know Columbia does that, where they get to do a reading interest inventory with their students. And I'm going to tell you something else that we're doing is Operation NBLB. So we're familiar with NCLB, but we're going to do Operation NBLB, and that's No Boy Left Behind.
Those boys are struggling, Ms. Bennett.
Yes.
I know that to be true. I have, I'm the special education teacher in my building, and primarily I have boys. My caseload is full of boys, and so that interest inventory really gives them an opportunity to tell Ms. Smith what they like, because if we don't know what our boys like, they're not going to be engaged and they're not going to become lifelong learners and want to read. So I think that interest inventory, reading interest inventory, really gives our boys a fair shot at giving us what they, you know, telling us what they want.
When we looked at the data, it was a stark difference between boys, the success of boys and girls in reading. So many of the principals have already started planning special activities outside the school day for boys to get them excited about reading. And then with boys, the research says making sure that we have books that they like.
That's it.
Yeah.
Having books that they like and access to will really help. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say at my school, because we were talking about not leaving the boys behind, I created a boys book club.
Yes.
Cool.
Yay. And we would read at the reading table, at the back table during independent reading time, because they just weren't reading. They were fooling around. They were under their desk.
Fake
They
reading.
were
Fake reading.
We've talked about fake reading.
They were, you know, thumbing through a graphic novel and pretending they were doing something. So I created a boys book club.
Yes.
And
Very
so we
nice.
would meet at the back, boys book club, and we would meet at the back table, and they liked it because I gave them, here's some choices.
No girls allowed.
What should we read first? And so they got to select the book that we all read together, and we called it a club, as a club, and they enjoyed that.
Very nice.
So
I like that.
Yes.
that's something that you might want to think about.
So teachers, please take note of that. I mean, our data clearly shows the difference between boys and girls was like this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then, you know what, that also impacts our boys' behavior. So I know that if they're not reading, those are the ones that are having the disciplinary referrals, and those are the ones that we're pulling our hair out trying to get to sit down. It's because they're not interested, and we got to find that.
Absolutely.
We have to find that.
Absolutely. And Marsha, I want to give you some time to talk about what's happening with you over these last 2 years. So in addition to the Boys Book Club, talk a little bit about the creative scheduling at Columbia.
We have, for about, this I think is the 6th time I have looped with students. I have to tell you, I did it for selfish reasons. The first time I had a really good group of students, well-behaved, smart. That year my parents were in a car accident, and for the first 2 months of school, I was in and out a lot. And I have to say, by the end of the year, my test scores did not look good. And I said to myself, how can I send these kids to 5th grade knowing I haven't done the best job in the world I could with them, wanting to keep them, wanting to have a second chance? And I asked our principal, Mr. Salinas, could I loop? And the gal I was teaching with at that time said, well, if you're going to loop, I'll try it too. We'll both loop. And he agreed. The teachers who were teaching 5th grade at that time, I'm not sure if they agreed or if they acquiesced, but they gave us the chance, and we've been doing that about 6 times now.
Wow.
And if I do a really good job teaching 4th grade, 5th grade's breeze. And what we've also noticed is that we retain, we keep students in our building who have been part of the loop. Their parents, once you've had them as fourth graders, their parents like you, they feel comfortable with you, and I had 22 students last year. I got all 22 of them back. I maybe lose one sometimes, but for the most part, no matter where they've moved to, they bring their children back to Columbia because they want to have that fifth grade experience with the same teacher. And we've been very successful with the loop. Now we've had a second grade teacher loop to third. We've had a first grade teacher loop to second. The students I have as fifth graders now, they had a teacher who looped from 2 to 3, and then me from 4 to 5. Okay. So it's been very successful.
That's amazing. I love it. And as far as does it work? Well, Columbia is an A school. Columbia is an A school when 80 to 90% of the schools across the state plummeted. So that is an amazing feat. So congratulations to all of you Columbians. But we have creative scheduling going on all across the district. Maywood is departmentalizing as well.
We have departmentalized at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade level this year. And like you said, with the class sizes and our enrollment kind of going down, we went from 2 teachers to 3 teachers, back to 2 teachers. So we're kind of working out the kinks as well. But it's at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade level right now. It's actually been pretty successful so far that the teacher knowledge of student is what we are realizing, that if you have that kid for 2 hours in math and then you switch, that gives the other teacher a chance to learn the students as well. So it's actually, and it's giving our kids a fair shot because, you know, first time you get in there for 2 hours, you may need a clean slate by the afternoon and you start all over with a new teacher.
That's a good
what
point.
if you don't like reading and you love math? You shouldn't have to have that same teacher, you know. So we're seeing some benefits, but like Brooke said, we're still trying to work out some of the kinks, but overall it's been a positive experience so far.
Good.
Before we moved on to math, I wanted to say one more thing about literacy. Back a long time ago when I was a Title I teacher, we had time built in the schedule that I could, as a Title I teacher, meet with the classroom teacher 4 times a year. A sub would go to the classroom teacher, and then the classroom teacher would come to me, and we'd talk about the kids that were in my caseload.
Yes.
Okay.
Talk specifically about every child, where they were, what I was working on, what the teacher was working on, what I saw with the child, what the teacher saw with the child. So we may want to think about that time with our interventionists.
Yeah.
Some more collaboration.
We do that on our Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. I know we do that a lot at Jefferson. We'll have kind of that time where she comes in, and we just kind of exchange notes.
Yes.
Just to kind of see, are we seeing the same thing in the classroom that they're seeing? Maybe that very small setting with Title I is better. You know, maybe they're excelling. I mean, so we do that a lot on Tuesdays. We collaborate so much on those meeting days.
And that's the purpose of those meeting days. At the beginning of the year, someone said, "Are we still doing it?" Absolutely, we're doing it because it gives you time as teachers to do exactly what Marcia said. You know, unfortunately, with Title I dollars being cut, we can't, you know, continue to do it on such a small scale. But on those Tuesdays and Thursdays, those are the times to really be discussing individual students, looking at individual student data, looking at NWEA data, looking at SRI data if you still use it, looking at all of those things to make decisions about individual students versus students as a whole. Because until we begin to really drill down into differentiation, we're not going to see the bang for our buck.
Very true.
So Brooke gave us the perfect segue for math. So we're going to slide right into math. And the driving question that we came up with for math is, how often are students asked to do mathematics in your classroom? Yes, and that's the exact kind of reaction I was hoping for. How often are students asked to do mathematics? So it's a difference between flashcards and worksheets and those types of things versus actually getting students involved in a mathematical task. And one of the things that I learned or heard about over the summer was a cognitive demand structure. And what that basically means is there is a spectrum that measures how much cognitive demand students are exercising when they're doing activities. And we want them to exercise as much cognitive demand. The kids should go home wiped out at the end of the day versus teachers going home.
Well, that's right. Our instructional coach always says that if you're sweating and the kids aren't, you did not do a good job.
Yes. And so that's what we want, especially when it comes to math, because here's what, you know, Oprah has this thing in her magazine, she says, what I know for sure. Yeah. She talks about, and what I know for sure is that we have all the pieces in place now to be successful, right? But we just have to work them and make the students work. I believe that the only reason our students are not as successful as they could be is because the tasks that they're exposed to on the test, the I-STEP test, is rigorous, but they're not exposed to that level of rigor on a daily basis. It's just like exercising or lifting weights. If they were exposed to that level of rigor every day leading up to the test, the test will be a breeze for them, but because they're used to it. But our kids don't have the stamina, right, to get through all of those long passages, and they don't have the perseverance.
Confidence.
Yes.
And that builds confidence. When you're doing it in the classroom, in a safe place, in a safe environment, they're willing to take a chance and get it wrong. It's okay to get it wrong when you're with Ms. Smith.
I tell my dad all the time.
You know, and so we have to continue to stretch them. I like the analogy of exercise and stamina, because that's what it is. We're exercising their ability to do mathematical problems.
And all of that language, perseverance, stamina, willing to try, hands-on, those are all, that's all vocabulary that's found in the standards for mathematical practice. So you know you have the Indiana state standards, but then you also have the standards for mathematical, the process standards. And then with everyday math, it's the goals for mathematical practice. That's the piece that we've really got to nail this year in order to make sure that our kids experience success.
But I also think it's important as teachers that we understand that medical process process and content. And it's full of jargon.
It is.
It's full of very abstract wording, but it's important for us to understand that rubric and lay it side to side with the mathematical process standards to understand what is process, what is content, and to grade our students that way.
You're absolutely right.
And to teach at Columbia School, we teach problem solving every day.
Yeah,
that's important
too, for sure.
We have a problem, essential questions that they must answer with every problem solving that we do. And it's really honed in their focus on how to approach a mathematical problem.
Absolutely.
I think the other thing that I do when we take the NWEA test, and I just did it yesterday, is I walk around with a half a sheet of paper while they're taking the test, and I'm looking at the questions and I'm writing vocabulary.
There you go.
Absolutely.
I'm writing the vocabulary down. Okay, mean, mode. Oh, there's integers. Oh, there lots of graphs, lots of charts. So I'm making myself notes as I'm walking around watching them take a test. So I know here's all the test vocabulary that I have to make sure that they understand. Now, of course, I can't take notes during I-STEP. I know better than that. But I am certainly memorizing those questions the best I can in my mind as they're taking I-STEP, so I can word questions exactly the same way that they're going to encounter them on I-STEP, and to take a full advantage of all those practice tests, all those things they have online.
Samplers, absolutely.
And I've saved the item samplers from years in the past that now are online. I'm
Binders
like,
full.
good.
You bet.
It works.
Marsha brings up another valid point that our students struggle with hugely when we looked at the data: vocabulary.
That's our thing.
Vocabulary. And so here's the thing. I know the fifth graders, some teachers are like, well, why do we have to do a word wall for fifth graders? It doesn't have rat and cat and bat on it, but it has content, vocabulary. Like she said, mean, median, mode, ratio, all those types of things are on it. And, you know, if we put all this whole conversation together, it only comes down to one thing, and that's rigor. It only comes down to one thing. But we decided on those questions so that we can push ourselves into defining what rigor actually looks like, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like, so that we have a clear path in where we're going.
And I'll get students who are
Exactly.
put their hands through their hair,
Because
and
it's
you
rigorous.
can tell, and they're getting that.
I made this summer, I spent a lot of time this summer working, and one of the things I made was like a flashcard that uses NWEA, and I was able to break it down into ranges, mostly for 5th grade, but I went all the way down to 4th grade, and I actually made flashcards that have a lot of those. I was able to look online. I actually contacted NWEA because I went to all those trainings, so I'm like, okay, these people said we can call if we have questions, so. And I probably spent a good month of time, you know, here and there, sitting by the pool, making, and I actually made flashcards, and I want to say I have like 12 pages. Right now it's focused on math, because I knew the departmentalizing, and with me having my math endorsement, I knew that that was the way I wanted to go. So I focused on math. Reading is a little bit tougher because the vocab, depending on what range you are in NWEA, the vocab is different. But math, what's so good, means the same thing.
Yeah.
All the way through.
It doesn't matter if, you know, so even with her being in special ed through K through 5, she can expose that as low as she thinks that they're ready for it. And so that's what I like about the math vocab, is it stays the same. And so I've actually made now flashcards, which I've shared with people.
That's awesome.
I did find some already pre-made on Teacher Pay Teachers, so I probably should have looked there first, because that would have saved me. But I was really able to narrow in on what my students, just from the past, what I knew we needed. And this group of students we have now are great, you know, because our 4th graders prep them so perfectly for 5th grade. It's so nice having, like how you loop. It almost feels like we almost have that sense, because the kids that come into us,
we're Jefferson students already.
well, already,
Yeah.
which really helps. This year, I only had one student not from Jefferson.
Oh, that's good.
So it's so good
Keeping
seeing
those
that.
kids is important.
It is. It's so nice, you know, not having any of those issues of them learning the new procedures. But the flashcards really, I mean, just for them to get that vocab,
Absolutely.
it helps so much. And then seeing pictures, I added pictures for them to visually, for my visual learners. And I took a lot of time to try and get all those components in there that NWEA is looking for.
Good.
So,
speaking of the vocabulary and consistency, you just keep giving me perfect segues.
Segue. She's the segue. She's the segue girl.
How do you guys, are you excited about the new writing program?
Writing.
Yes.
Trace writing?
Just gotten into it.
Yeah.
Have done about 5 or 6 days worth of lessons here. The kids haven't seen it all come together yet.
Yep.
They're like, how is all this? You know, we're doing all the pre-writing strategies right now. We're going to make some posters of pre-writing strategies.
Okay.
Because that's the part that they don't. Do we have to make a plan?
Oh, don't you love that?
I really just want to write. I only have a little. Do we have to make a plan?
Of course.
You know what? What's amazing is, like Brooke was saying, the importance of having that continuous vocabulary. So now, from kindergarten to grade 5, the vocabulary for writing, the traits will be the same. There will be nothing new. And I've actually gone in classrooms already and seen those posters. I've seen the kids making the posters and making the plans. So it's really, really exciting.
so that is our writing.
Yes, that is absolutely what we are using for writing. It is not a resource. That is what we are using for writing. Because again, that's going to help with everything else. It's going to help them on the extended responses. It's going to help them on all of that.
But what everybody has to remember is that writing on I-STEP is in response to literature.
Yes.
We have to
And I
keep
do
exactly
a
that.
lot
It's
of
in
response to literature in my
Absolutely.
classroom. A lot. But what I do like about this writing series, actually the teacher that I teach with really loved it like this year. I wasn't able to go to the training, and she's like, you have to do this. I mean, she loves it. So I hear a lot of good feedback on it.
I've heard nothing but
about
good
it,
things.
too,
I feel like, man, yes, a decision everybody agrees with.
How often does that happen, Ms. Bennett?
Right.
And same with everyday math. Like I know, like I told my students, day 1 there was a problem. I said, okay, I haven't taught you this, which is letting me know everyday math is saying you should know this. Now with the writing, if it's something that I haven't quite seen in it, I can say, okay, I now know, Like with you seeing K through 5, oh no. If a 5th grader comes to you and says, I don't know.
Oh, no.
You've seen this since kindergarten because we use the same series.
Yes,
Yes.
That consistency
really
important.
And that's what I'm really proud of throughout the district is the level of consistency that we're getting. And that is an amazing accomplishment with 14 buildings. 14 buildings, 14 different principals, 14 different types of students and teachers. But we are slowly but surely all, you know, rowing in the same direction. And I'm really happy about that. Well, I just want to go over a few really basic things that we've been hearing all the time. Yes, we still have to put objectives on the board, or if you're not putting them on a whiteboard, you're putting them somewhere so that students know and understand what they're expected to know during the course of the day. So it's not just, oh, in case my principal comes in or in case Mrs. Bennett comes in. No, it's for the benefit of the students. For the benefit of the students.
It's like, well, in my world, from the special ed department, if a kid does not, they ask me every day, so what's next?
Yes.
So when I'm done with this, what do I do next? And it just, it makes it so much easier to continue to teach when you know you've already listed their do now. What's next? They already have that, so that keeps me engaged in the small group that I'm supposed to be teaching while my independent kids are working on what they need to. And a lot of kids in our world just want to know what's next. They just want to know
all the time.
And they deserve to know what's coming next. They don't want surprises.
My students know we're getting Chromebooks today, but still every day they ask me, Miss Sanders, are we getting Chromebooks today? I don't answer it anymore. I just don't even. No, we get them on Tuesdays and Fridays at the same time.
They crave that.
And they need that structure.
They do. They do. And it's just, those are little things that can help make your day go so much smoother as a teacher. But kids, it shouldn't be a surprise what the kids are doing from 1 minute to the next, right? They should already know, just like you know because of your plans for the day, you know what you're doing. So let's not hide it. Let's not make it a mystery, okay?
And I color code my objectives so my students know, like, my, the task is red. So like if we're evaluating or analyzing, that's red. If we're multiplying's in green. So like kind of our task is green. Blue is homework. If it has a star, I'm taking it as an assessment or an exit slip. So I have it like,
you have a code.
And they learn it. I mean, they now know. They come in, I'm like, if it's not in, like, blue is homework. If it's starred, it's either an exit slip or, sometimes it will say like star post-it, and they'll know, okay, when I'm in my mini lesson, that post-it Miss Sanders is going to be looking at.
Good.
So it's real, so
That's
no, I have it
awesome.
all color-coded for them.
Well, that's awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome. They need that. They need that structure. I just want to kind of wrap things up. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate our collaboration, and I hope that everybody across the district can collaborate like this and have common conversations about where we are in the district. I know things aren't perfect, but please believe that I am trying every single day to make them better. We'll probably never achieve perfection, but I'm really trying. And again, if you have any questions as a teacher, contact your principal, let me know, or suggestions on how we can make things better. That's what I'm here for. I'm here for you, and I'm here for our students. So let's make it a great year, ladies.
Gonna have a great year.
All right.
Thank you.